Okay. Hey y'all. It's your girl Sia and I'm back with another video. Y'all, first things first, today is Wednesday, you guys. My day in my brain has been extremely hectic. But I hope you guys had a wonderful day. I'm not going to really get into work stuff too much, but just to give you guys a little bit of my schedule. I do payroll, right? And I'm starting to realize I really don't like payroll as much as I enjoy tax and bookkeeping. And honestly, I don't know, like I love bookkeeping for reasons outside of bookkeeping, if if that makes sense. Um I like bookkeeping because it does paint a story about people and it tells you a little bit about who they are without them saying anything. um, and you're also helping people, right? So in the bigger scheme of things, you're helping them. But the reality of it is, I am not really digging this like payroll thing, you guys, and I can do it, but payroll comes with a lot of like deadlines. I mean, a lot of deadlines, y'all, that realistically, I'm like, I would really pass on that, right? So, um, because I get a level of anxiety. Like, I like work that is exciting, but I don't like work that where it's like I'm worried about other people's stuff, and I'm constantly worried about it. Like taxes, you are, but it's only certain days of the year. Bookkeeping, you are, but certain days of the year. If you have a little bit of clients, certain, obviously at that point you're keeping up with payroll deadlines, but I just feel like maybe it's just me, but I feel like the process is really long and drawn out. And while I understand the goal is to cover your butt, um, y'all, they don't make this necessarily fun for me. So they told me to figure out what area that I really like. I think I'm gonna stick with it all because at the end of the day, I already do it all, and doing it in the mass level that I'm doing it in as fast as I'm doing everything, it only betters me, right? So it doesn't hurt. It's just like, oh, it's a pain in my butt. Okay. So that is my day every Wednesday. And next Wednesday will be even worse because I have my payroll, my client's payroll, in addition to other people's payroll, in addition to the clients that I have, their payroll. So I'm doing payroll literally all week, all the time. And I guess that's how my job is. And then what I do outside of work. But still, you guys, I'm realizing I don't like it as much. Um, so that's my day. So my brain is very it's got a lot of stuff in it right now. I need to really sit down and write everything out because it's a lot of to-dos. Obviously, I'm taking on a lot of responsibility and I'm having to transition into that responsibility. So, it's just a lot on my shoulders right now, but I've been through worse, right? I've been through way worse. So I can get through this. It's just new. It's just a transition. And it's a lot going on. I think my workload is pretty high. The kind of work that I do and as fast as I do it at the pace that I do it, it's pretty high, man. Um, so yeah, it's just different, and getting used to it and really understanding that this is what's going to make me better. I know it is. Practice is tough, right? But when you do it for so long, eventually you get used to the rhythm of things. And it just makes you 10 times better. So I know that it's a mental thing and I just got to push through. Um, you know, Anywho, I wanted to really talk about some things because I know that it's hard to articulate what I'll be trying to say in terms of where I'm at because a part of me understands why people are voting in the way that they're voting. Okay. I understand exactly why. I was sitting there watching YouTube. I need to stop watching YouTube, but I love YouTube. But I was watching the news because that's how I get my news. I don't personally do not really watch TV like that. And so I was on there and I watched a news clip from my local town where they are talking about deputizing um people who don't necessarily, they're non-citizens. This is what they call them. Okay. And I have, Googled the definition. I'm sure I learned this a long time ago, but I just need clarity, right? Because I'm like, hold up. Like, and to me, this is America. What are we doing? Okay, from my mind for us to go to non-citizens, and this is nothing against non-citizen people, right? But I automatically think like Mexico, like Africa. Like I think of things that I've seen on TV, and maybe it's just TV and maybe it's all for fake, but there's a certain level of morality I feel, even though it's not perfect, even though, yes, there are some hangups and some people that make these folks look kind of bad, right? But there's a level of morality when it comes to the police here in America, like American police, because our ideologies are very similar, even though we may be different skin colors. The way in which we think is very similar. So, okay, when you look at all these different places around the world and you look at how their prisons and their police officers and their police forces are, um, I don't necessarily know if I want to be able to try to trust in police that I don't know that I can necessarily trust in. Right? Like I don't know how else to say that without saying it. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like as an American, for me, I feel like our standard is so high. Like how, like, and it's not to say that we're better than, because in the state that we're in, we're really not better than, but we are kind of like the image that we have like been taught in our brains. Okay. Um, I just don't see how Americans can be on board with that. This idea that we're going to deputize people who are non-citizens. And then also knowing that some of these people are able to also, when they cross the border, and no offense, like I don't mean to disrespect anyone, but it is the reality of things. They cross the border, they come here. Um, and then, even though they're not necessarily citizens, quote unquote, they're still able to, some type of way, to be able to get housing, to be able to get food stamps and stuff like that. So I find it very difficult, especially when you see the people that are the ones pushing this, because it's not necessarily in this state. It's the people who are pushing it don't look like me, and they don't look like white people either. Okay. Fill in the blanks. So it's very interesting to me how they can say, well, oh, it's only going to be, for the people who are like legally allowed to work here. But I'm like, bro, so that means you could have citizenship in a whole other country, but then be deputizing on our streets here. I don't find that to be okay. Like, I actually am in more fear of that than a racist ask. Well, I don't know if I've ever experienced a racist cop. That's just the truth. Like, I personally, I don't know if it's because I'm a girl. I don't know if it's because of my experiences. I don't know. But anytime I've been in a situation where the cops were agitated, for the most part, I probably agitated that stuff. I can genuinely say that, right? In Colorado, it's very strange because I know we face racism on a different level, but it's not always at the level that I think is shown on TV. Because I've had plenty of positive encounters with cops, right? And even now it's very interesting because cops are like my peers. Like I be in the elevator, they be talking to me. There are two of them in the elevator and they just talk to me. And as a person of my in my industry, I have to be willing to talk to a cop, right? I have to be willing to treat them like they're anybody else. So um it doesn't, I don't know. My experiences have been different. Okay. So I personally don't know that I would trust someone from a different country or someone with even dual citizenship to be a part of the local police force. That's that's the key word. Community police force, bro. So I'm sorry, they're gonna have to figure something out. And what's so bizarre to me is these are the same people that wanted to defund the police. I mean, this, like, it's so bizarre that they're now trying to put other people, like people that are not even, they're foreign, like that's the reality of it, in charge of the local everyday police force. Like, get the fuck out of here, bro. Like, that shit's scary as fuck. But there's a lot of things that are happening that are scary, and excuse my language, but it is what it is. um I get why, because in my mind, I'm like, something's got to change, right? The reality of it is something has to change. And I understand that is why everybody in their mind, they're voting for Trump. And that's cool. Like, okay. But I don't necessarily know necessarily where I stand either, right? And I know this sounds crazy because people, I have a history. I am not dumb. I see what's happening, and I understand how important it is to get this current administration out of office, right? What I'm having a hard time understanding is, so this is where my mind has a hard time really reconciling with this voting this year. Okay, I'm gonna let y'all vote. Okay, is because I keep telling y'all it is prophecy. There is a prophecy. I keep going back to that, and I'm telling you now, the NWO, let me tell you guys, this stuff is all laid out, and people don't understand that to what degree this stuff has been planned and prophesized. And I can't, my spirit is not saying it's for me. Maybe my spirit will tell me it's for me. But realistically, I have to recognize what my spirit is telling me, right? And I have been known, at least in my spirit, to be correct. So I'm sitting this one out as far as I know it. I know that people say we need the votes, but in my mind, all I keep replaying is prophecy. So people say that we're in these end times. And the problem is, a lot of people think we're about to be ushered in. Hold on. I need to rephrase what I'm about to say, because I don't want to get y'all confused, okay? Um we're living in the end times, right? And according to what Project Bluebeam, I don't know if I can even say that, because I don't know if that's been like, it's been some of these things have been kind of like they found another way, or they upgraded in their their ways of going about things. But I don't know if you guys read the book Behold the Pale Horse. And that book is so key. Like, I just mentally, I can't get with y'all. I just can't. I pray that a change happens, and if we get a good couple 4 years, cool. Like, okay, I'll take it, right? But I still believe that things are going to go in the manner that they're projected to go in. Okay. And I say that with sincerity. I don't believe in the when you're looking at the prophecy, the whole prophecy states that whatever comes into play, the people will usher in, right? So and I say prophecy, you guys can go to like Revelations. You guys, there's so many places where you can find the information, in terms of what the actual NWO, like what that plan is. And it's going to be something that the people are asking for. What they say is things are going to get so bad, right? And in my mind, I was thinking like maybe it's going to get real bad, like leave the world behind bad. Like, that was my thought process, right? But what they say is things are going to get so bad that people are going to be begging and wishing that this person or this thing comes in and saves them, right? And there were so many images of what this possibly could be. I know people, there were conversations about UN, coming in and posing as the savior, stuff like that. There were so many different uh, conspiracies as to what that could have been. And this just reminds me, it's almost similar to Obama, right? And his, even though his was a little bit more positive, right? Because I mean, with Trump, quote unquote, went through, right? Because I don't even know what's real and what's fake anymore. And that's just the honest to God truth. I personally don't. I have a brain of my own. I can see things for kind of what they are. I'm not saying that anything outside of things just seemed a little bit too convenient, right? When it came to that situation, and the poses that were made that we were able to see, in my opinion, were a little too perfect. That's just the real. When I went back and watched the footage, I don't know. I just feel like when there were real shootings, like when y'all watch the Vegas, stuff, and I know a lot of people say that was staged or whatever, or it wasn't staged. I don't know. Um, but people were running, like they were really running for their lives. So it's there's certain things about that footage that just in my brain, it's like it's the dots are not connecting, and they're connecting in a way in which I believe, um folks are not being honest with us about what really happened. And I also believe that your boy, okay, y'all, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but I do believe that he was in on it. Okay. Something about that just seemed too off. It didn't seem like, normally when you watch these shootings, I mean, where there's crowds of people are running. um and I just didn't really see that. I saw some people move, but not really. Like, it just was weird. The whole ordeal was a bit strange. And I know that, we want to blame it on the left so bad, and I believe that maybe they had an in on it too. I don't know. But I think the reality of it is, the people who are pulling the strings know dang well Biden's out. Like, he's gone, bro. Like, I mean, I would think, unless they find a way to, like, I don't know, they're gonna have to figure that one out, right? I don't think their goal is to keep him in power any longer. I do believe that this is a quote unquote, and I've said this time and time again, a war between two sets of like two sets of ideologies, two sets of people. Okay. But I do believe that for the most part, the people at the top understand that this guy is gone. Okay. And I do believe that their support is for Trump. And I know that a lot of people don't want to believe that Trump is, controlled or whatever. But I do believe Trump has he aligns himself with a certain ideology, that, because I've never recognized it, when you see, because I do believe it's a level of populism, right? And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's good, because I still don't really know the cons of it. I've been doing my research, y'all. I've been really Googling the cons, because I want to know what the downsides are. I've heard the pros. I want to know what the bad sides are, right? When I look at people like Obama, I'm like, okay, I mean, Obama was cool to the people who think he was cool, but a lot of folks understand that Obama never really did anything for the people, right? So in my mind, if that's what I'm having to go off of, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see, right? There were a lot of things that were said that they were supposed to be done that weren't done. There were a lot of things that, just have gone a bit unanswered. Okay. And a lot of people have looked over those things because of who the person is. So we'll see. That's why I said I don't know that I can jump on board right away. I need to know more, and if they ain't gonna educate me, I need to educate myself, right? I understand the needs of the people and what we need. I'm living the everyday life. But the reality of it is, how does all of this translate into my everyday life? Now, folks say, well, under Trump, we had more money. Well, I mean, yeah, but I also think, I don't know. Under Trump, you had more money. Yes, things were, economically, viable. But I also believe that people, I I don't know. We'll see, right? I'm not even gonna get into that, but we'll see, right? I do like the fact that I believe that Trump will support cryptocurrency. I personally love that idea. However, I don't feel like Trump is the end all be all save all. Okay, I do believe that there's troubles in the waters, regardless of which way we turn. And I also believe that because it's so many people voting for this man. There's so many people who all of a sudden were like, I want to be this man. And the ways he's been able to do it are unconventional. So a part of me is like, okay, we'll see. Like my eye is still on him. Like I said, um, I support the ideologies, but I also know that some of these things are like it can go really, really left really quick. It's really extreme. The issues in this country are so extreme right now that it just makes me wonder because the elite for the elite to try to appeal to regular everyday people but not necessarily be with the everyday regular people. We'll see how this plays out. You know, the issues in this country are very real. They're very obvious. Um, but I think that for me, I have to trust that people are going to do what they're supposed to do and go vote. But I have to sit this one out because, again, when you're looking at the Antichrist, and I'm not saying Antichrist is anybody or anywhere near because that is not my job to speak on that really, but the prophecy states that everybody will be voting this person in. And right now, if you're on TikTok or you're on YouTube and you're paying attention to what's going on, everything seems super crazy. It's chaotic and it's only going to get worse. So when people go and vote, it's like they're voting for the only option that they really have. Like, this is your option. And I get what happened in 2020, but that was 2020, bro. Like, we're in two different times. That's what folks don't understand. Time is going by so fast, you really don't really know where you at. You don't even know what time you're in. So my spirit, like everything in my spirit says right now, I cannot budge on not voting. And it's not that I don't want Biden out of office, but I feel like there's enough people supporting Trump. I feel like what just happened and what just took place with Trump was done to gain more attention, more people, to get more people on his side. It's very interesting because Candace Owens, I can't even watch it because right now I can't listen to Alex Jones. I cannot. I already know who Alex Jones is for, and I don't believe that Alex Jones is gonna be um what's the word? I feel like he's a bit biased in his approach to the conversation. I'm gonna tell you now, I had to go to David Icke, and honestly, he's not even really the best source, but I went to David Icke. I wish Julian Assange was not in his situation. I wish he would do it. Wikipedia, or not Wikipedia, WikiLeaks used to be the stuff, man. Okay, when you wanted to know real info. But I feel as though this is a thing. There was a guy who wrote the Behold Pale Horse, and his name was Bill Cooper. Okay, William Bill Cooper or William Cooper. Um, who I can't remember if he was part of the military at one point or if he had went into the military and then left or whatever. But I'm pretty sure that's what it was, or he had some affiliation with the government at that level. And so he ended up telling a lot of stuff. He used to have a podcast where he would, really talk about this stuff in depth. Wrote the book. It is an infamous book, The Behold the Pale Horse, okay, where he goes into all these different subjects about what could be and what would be and what should be, might be, and whatever, right? And all this different documentation. I mean, it's crazy, okay? He was the WikiLeaks, version offline. Let's put it that way in a book, okay? So one thing he said in his podcast, and a lot of people seem to forget because, people, I just feel like the media, the internet, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the internet has kind of been scrubbed in this way that you can't find certain kind of information that you were maybe able to find a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago, right? Or 10 years ago, right? And so it's very, I don't know. I've been trying to dig for deeper information, not just what everybody's talking about, because that's all baby food. Like a lot of people, if everybody's doing it, it's usually not the way to go. Okay. So I went to David Icke's channel, and I know that David Icke has a kind of different, because he's not in the United States. He has a very different opinion than Alex Jones when it portrays to Donald Trump. Okay. And so I know that if at the very least I'm going to get more info or a different insight as to what happened. Okay. And it's not his disdain. It's not like he's a Democrat or anything, but in his way of explaining things, he'll let you know it's two sides of the same, two wings of the same bird. Alex Jones too, okay, to a degree. Something that's always been said within this community, just so you guys know, because I like this stuff is the stuff that's playing out. We have been following, I have been following the people that I follow. Okay. This has been going on for more than like the prophecy, the studies of understanding what's happening has been happening for me at least since I was 18. Okay. So, what the conversation was at that time was that Alex Jones and, quote unquote, Mark Dice, David Icke, they were all COINTELPRO. So, what they would do is they tell you a lot of lies, but also feed you truths at the same time. So, you wouldn't know what was true and what was real. And something that was always said, even William Bill Cooper, before he was, unalived or whatever, um he said on one of his podcasts, and this was at the time they had all this information about who Alex Jones really was, right? And who he could be. And some of that is so eerily scary. It blows your, for me when I was younger, it put a lot of fear in me to understand that you don't know who to trust in this. You got to be able to trust yourself. You got to have a level of discernment above all else, right? So with Alex Jones, the thing was you didn't follow him because he wasn't always telling you the truth. But because they've scrubbed in and there's a lot of things gone, right? There's a lot of people who have been, gone through some things and experienced some things. Um these truths are no longer, they're very hard to find, right? In fact, there was a guy I was trying to, do some research just to see what was out there again. And I had to go to Rumble, and I went to Rumble, and this guy was doing a whole video about who, like, kind of regurgitating stuff that was, told back in the day, right? And just was regurgitating the stuff that we had already, like the same scenes and everything that we had heard when it came to Alex Jones. And I had to tell him, I said, you do know that William Bill Cooper also told us not to follow him, that he was a fake, he was a fraud. Like, not in the sense that he was COINTELPRO, right? And one of the tasks that he's always been said to do is lead the sheep to slaughter, but they look like they're in support of the people. So for Candace Owens, in my mind, and again, I get you're thinking with an education and a level of rationalism, but I don't know that all these people understand the level of conspiracies that are out there, right? And I'm saying conspiracies because we'll see. I don't, I could be totally wrong and Trump might be our savior, but that's not what the Bible says. Like, that's not what, that's not what the NWO says. That's not what prophecy says, right? So this is where people are having a hard time. They have to learn. I know that times are tough, but in my mind, the better way to do all this would be to not vote. And unfortunately, you're not going to get a whole bunch of people not to vote. And I understand it's the right to vote, but when you stop participating in silly games, you stop winning silly prizes. Do you understand me? So in this type of situation, I do not believe that Trump is the end all be all. I do not believe, I believe that he is the immediate choice. I mean, default choice. You really, like, if you have two brains, one brain, I said two, one brain, you're gonna vote for Trump. Like the natural person is, it just makes sense. It don't make sense any old kind of way. But for my mind, and I'm natural too, but for my mindset, I know more. There's a level of understanding of what's to come and what hasn't happened yet. And so I do not want to be a part of. Like, I think this is officially where I tap out of the what do they call it? The Hunger Games. I'm officially through, because there is a level of karma that does come with what you do in life. Everything that you do has a level of, it comes right back to you, basically. So, and the truth can be saying, it could be said for voting. You know, I don't want to take a part in it until I see that there's like tangible. For me, I need to know that, okay, this person does not mean me any harm. And because I believe that the situation that happened was planned. Okay. And I believe all sides knew. They were just too cool about it. It's too much going on. I'm sorry. Even with Trump, he was too cool about it. Sorry. I just, I, and I know people say, well, he put his fist in the air because he was angry. Or maybe he was posing, because that's more what it looked like. He didn't look, I mean, he looked angry, but it looked like it didn't look like how you would look. Like, I'm just saying, I didn't feel immediate danger. Like, I didn't feel like, oh crap, what's happening? Like, I saw him duck, but I felt like he ducked like, okay, if I had to be honest, maybe the scene I was watching was a bit different, but I just feel like a lot of a lot of this was staged. It's just my opinion. And I don't say that too often, but I believe even the shooter guys, the guy, he was a kid. He didn't even look like okay, I'm sorry. I know what they say, but mentally my brain instantly looked at him and I was like, nah, this ain't it. This can't be the guy. And if it is him, he definitely had a lot of support. Like, there's no way. Because mentally, your mind doesn't see a child. Like, the dude was still a bit, like, if that's the picture, maybe he looked different. In real life, I don't know, but I'm not buying that kid acted alone or by himself or without support. And then the ties to BlackRock. I mean, I don't know, that to me, it doesn't immediately ring a bell. I see BlackRock as a company that still has to make money too, right? So it's weird that they had an advertisement, of that nature. But it's not, when you really understand what they do at all levels that they do it at. Um, I guess the biggest thing for me is, why hide it? But at the same time, I'm like, if maybe people were blowing them up and they were like, you know what, we're sick of hearing y'all, we're taking it down. I don't know. So things just don't, the dots are not connecting for me. The honest truth is not being told. And to me, that's enough for me to be like, you know what? And I mean, it's more than enough for me to kind of be like, you know what, I'm gonna sit and just wait. I mean, until I hear something that's really good. Okay, the economy's gonna do great. Fine. Okay, cool. Like, look here, I'm not personally struggling in a financial way. So, by the grace of God, so not at that level. So, it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna still be working the same job regardless, right? For me, maybe I'll have a little bit more money to do something. Okay, cool. As far as the migrant situation, listen, to be truthful, as long as them people stay away from me and leave me alone, whatever, right? I don't really care. I care because they keep touching my car, and they and I don't understand how they're able to get all this assistance when I could barely get assistance. I can't even get assistance. Yeah, hell yeah, I have every right to be upset about that. But the reality of it is, okay, I mean, okay, whatever. The whole deputizing the police thing, that shit's crazy. Okay, but there's a lot of, like, I live in a city that is crazy. So mentally, it's like it bothers me, but I feel like it bothers other people more that other people are willing to go vote. So, personally, I will not be voting. Okay. I believe that there's a lot of things happening right now that, again, you got to question why they're happening. Prophecy states that there will be a few months of positivity, or a few years of tribulation and happy, or maybe not tribulation, sorry y'all, but like happiness and good times or whatever. And then that's about to be done with. So, um, I don't know. In these times, because it is quote unquote the end times, you got to be very aware. The Bible says to be wary of who you trust outside of the Bible. And for me personally, y'all, I trust myself and I trust that God, God. I don't trust no man made source, no man, no nothing. Not in this regards. So they gotta earn my vote, man. Trump don't get to just be my president by default. I mean, he can. Y'all gonna vote for him, so I would appreciate that. I'm not gonna lie. If it switched over from what we have now, but my question is, in 5 to 10 years, where are we gonna be? Right? And I think that that's a valid question. And the reason why I'm asking that, because it stems from the decisions that we make today. So, it's cool to see people saying, all agreeing. It's cool to see Americans. I will say this. It is cool to see America stand together on one kind of solid ground. I feel like there's a lot of Americans who really, are in full agreement that certain things need to change. And so in that regards, it's cool to see this many Americans like really standing up and wanting to make a difference amongst whites, blacks, Mexicans. I love it. It's very hard to see. It's hard, okay, y'all, to really take some people serious because of the way in which they were diehard fans of the Democrats. And I understand that people will be voting the other way, but I wonder how much of that is like, I'm a sheep and I'm just jumping on the bandwagon. So this is for me, we'll see what happens in the next few months, man. It's only going to get worse. There're going to be a lot more things happening. And so you guys be aware. I'm still going to do videos. And I may even post about where, if I'm voting or not. I just, at this point in time, there's not enough on either side really, and I would say more so Biden for me. Obviously Trump has a lot of positives that may come with him. But I'm not dumb. Like, I'm thinking they're all, and I'm not saying people are dumb either, but if they're thinking 3, 4, 5 and moving 6, 7 steps ahead, then we should be too. And so my spirit says that there's more to a lot of what we see. There's going to be more to what we see coming from the quote unquote, alternative media. You guys are going to have to be very, very, just use discernment. It's not that you can't watch these people, because I do. I can't watch Alex Jones right now because I just know that that man is all for Trump, right? I need someone that's a little bit more. I need balance. That's what it is. In order for me to make my decision right, I need balance, and he's not giving it. I highly doubt he's given that balance. So that's all I got to say on the matter, y'all. With that being said, I'm out. Peace.